A police badge is supposed to protect you. For these officers, it became the perfect tool to steal. They robbed handcuffed suspects, grieving families, evidence lockers, and ordinary people who trusted the uniform standing in front of them. They believed the badge made them untouchable. It didn't. Today, we're counting down 10 of the most corrupt police officers who stole on the job. The moment they crossed the line, the mistake that exposed them, and the ultimate price every one of them paid. Because when the people enforcing the law become the criminals, the fall is always harder. But before we start, let us know in the comment where you're watching this from. This is Verdict Vault.
Number 1. Fernell Sanat. While serving as a Miami police officer, investigators say Sanat wasn't just abusing his badge, he was running a criminal business around it. His targets weren't random civilians, they were suspected drug traffickers, people he believed had one major weakness: if they were robbed, they couldn't call the police without exposing themselves. For a long time, that calculation worked. According to federal prosecutors, Sanat and his associates posed as narcotics officers, using fake identities, badges, and police commands to stage convincing drug raids on the street. To the victims, everything looked real: the authority, the orders, the badges. The only thing that wasn't real was the arrest. Instead, investigators say the victims were stripped of their cash, their drugs, and any chance of reporting what had happened without risking their own freedom. It wasn't a one-time theft, it was a business model. And according to prosecutors, Sanat wasn't just stealing cocaine, he was planning to sell it. The stolen cash became one source of profit, the stolen narcotics became another. For years, the scheme relied on one assumption: no victim would ever come forward. It might have continued working if the FBI hadn't entered the picture. Unknown to Sanat, federal agents had begun investigating the very world he believed he controlled. The people building the case against him weren't frightened drug dealers, they were undercover investigators. The same tactics that had protected Sanat from his victims offered no protection against the FBI. Once the evidence was assembled, the operation unraveled quickly. Sanat was arrested.
We're here to announce the sentence imposed against Fernell Sanat. This case is about a police officer who lost his way. It is about a police officer who abused his discretion, who abused his trust in deciding to reap off whom he believed were drug dealers in the street.
And later sentenced to 135 months in federal prison, more than 11 years behind bars. Prosecutors argued his crimes went far beyond robbery. To our amazing subscribers, thank you for standing with us through every heartbreaking case. And if you're new here, subscribing and liking this video is completely free, but it goes a long way in helping the channel reach more viewers who care about justice and truth. Number 2. Sergeant Michael Cheff, Udi Ramos, and Daniel Pent. Inside the Patterson Police Department in New Jersey, prosecutors say theft wasn't an occasional temptation, it was routine. Not because officers decided to steal on their own, but because their supervisor allegedly told them to. Cheff had spent years earning the rank of sergeant, a position built on one fundamental responsibility: making sure the officers beneath him followed the law. According to federal prosecutors, he turned that responsibility upside down. Instead of reviewing reports for accuracy, Cheff approved false ones. Instead of making sure seized cash was properly logged into evidence, investigators say he instructed officers to skim part of it before reporting a smaller amount. Then he took a cut for himself. The man signing the paperwork was also profiting from the crime. Two of the officers working under him were Udi Ramos and Daniel Pent. According to investigators, Both men carried out illegal traffic stops, seized cash from civilians, pocketed part of the money, and filed reports designed to make every stop appear completely lawful. On paper, nothing looked unusual. The reports had a sergeant's signature. For years, that signature discouraged the very scrutiny it was supposed to invite. Investigators later argued that wasn't an accident, it was the system. Ramos had worked under Chef long enough that prosecutors said the scheme had become almost routine, a normal part of certain shifts rather than an extraordinary crime. Pent, who joined the unit later, told investigators he believed this was simply how the job was done under Chef's command. That statement revealed something larger than theft. Corruption had become culture. A supervisor wasn't just protecting misconduct.
According to prosecutors, he was teaching it. The operation continued until a wider federal investigation began pulling the pattern apart. One by one, the pieces lined up. Rather than take their chances at trial, all three officers pleaded guilty. Chef, identified by prosecutors as the architect of the scheme, received the harshest sentence, 33 months in federal prison, along with convictions for conspiracy and falsifying official police reports. But the consequences didn't end with those three convictions, because every report they signed, every stop they conducted, and every arrest they touched suddenly became suspect. The Patterson Police Department was forced to revisit years of cases, reopening investigations and reviewing convictions that may have been built on illegal stops, falsified reports, and stolen evidence. One corrupt officer can destroy a case. A corrupt supervisor can call an entire department into question. And the next officer didn't build a corruption ring. He made one decision that unraveled everything in a matter of minutes.
Number 3. Christopher Robert Halazinski. As the evidence room custodian for the McKeesport Police Department in Pennsylvania, Halazinski wasn't responsible for making arrests. He was responsible for protecting what every arrest left behind: cash seized during criminal investigations, money sealed inside evidence envelopes. Property that once logged was supposed to remain untouched until the courts decided each case, sometimes years later. That level of trust came with almost no daily supervision. According to investigators, Halazinski took advantage of every bit of it. This wasn't one theft, or even 10. Prosecutors say that over 4 years, he quietly opened sealed evidence envelopes from 159 separate cases, removing cash a little at a time before depositing it into his own personal bank account. Not thousands of dollars overnight, small amounts, one envelope, then another, until the total exceeded $260,000. The scheme worked for one reason: evidence rooms depend on trust. Once money is counted, sealed, labeled, and stored, it's rarely handled again until a case is closed. Halazinski understood that better than anyone because protecting those envelopes was his job, and for 4 years, almost no one checked behind him. The thefts didn't end because a witness came forward. They didn't end because another officer became suspicious. They ended because of something far less dramatic: an audit. The kind of routine review evidence rooms are supposed to undergo on a regular basis. As investigators worked through the records, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Envelope after envelope, case after case. The paperwork said one amount, the evidence said another.
When detectives compared the missing money with Halazinski's personal finances, the numbers told the same story. Faced with a paper trail stretching across nearly 160 criminal cases, Halazinski confessed.
According to investigators, he claimed he had intended to repay the money before anyone noticed. But prosecutors pointed to the timeline. The withdrawals hadn't stopped after one mistake. They had continued for 4 straight years, one deliberate decision after another. Prosecutors described it as one of the largest evidence room theft cases they had seen in Pennsylvania, not because one envelope held an extraordinary amount of money, but because the pattern was so methodical and lasted for so long without being detected. The consequences reached far beyond Halasinski himself. Defense attorneys handling 159 separate cases had to be notified that evidence connected to their clients had potentially been compromised. One officer's theft suddenly became a legal problem for prosecutors, defense lawyers, judges, and victims across years of criminal investigations. When investigators finished tracing the missing evidence, the numbers told a story no explanation could overcome. Christopher Robert Halasinski ultimately pleaded guilty in federal court to theft concerning programs receiving federal funds after admitting he had stolen more than $260,000 from the McKeesport Police Department's evidence room over a 4-year period. In 2024, a federal judge sentenced him to 27 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. He was also ordered to pay more than $260,000 in restitution, forfeited his position with the department, and lost the career that had placed him in charge of protecting the very evidence he chose to steal.
Number 4. Henry Chapman. The suspect never saw it happen. His hands were cuffed behind his back. Locked inside the rear seat of a Charlotte police cruiser, he had no way to protect the $900 sitting in his pocket. But the officer driving him did. Officer Henry Chapman had spent years with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. By then, traffic arrests had become routine, just another stop, another transport, another trip to the jail. Routine can be dangerous. According to investigators, during the drive to the station, Chapman quietly removed $900 from the handcuffed suspect's personal property. The money should have remained untouched until officers reached the station, where it would be counted in front of another officer, sealed, and logged as personal property. It never made it that far. Instead of carrying the cash on himself, Chapman came up with what he believed was the perfect hiding place. He tucked the money inside the patrol car's interior door panel, convinced no one would ever think to search the police cruiser itself. It was a calculated decision. If anyone questioned the missing cash, it would be the suspect's word against his. And the suspect was sitting in handcuffs. Chapman believed that was enough. It wasn't. The moment they arrived at the station, the suspect immediately told booking officers what had happened. More importantly, he told them exactly how much money was missing. That detail mattered.
Do you see anything?
No, yeah, look, no cap. I'm not even gonna touch it. It's blue hundreds right here. It's all the blue hundreds are right there behind that receipt. Thank you. All that's my money. He didn't have that.
This is your money?
Yes, I heard him crumble it up. Thank you. Thank you. All
That ain't my money.
Right? That's my money. That's my money right there.
$900 wasn't a vague accusation. It was a specific amount investigators could verify. Internal Affairs opened an investigation before Chapman had even finished his shift. Facing overwhelming evidence, Chapman entered an Alford plea, a legal plea that allows a defendant to accept a criminal conviction while maintaining they are not admitting guilt, often used when the evidence makes a conviction at trial highly likely. The court sentenced Chapman to 18 months of supervised probation, and he was ordered to surrender his law enforcement certification, ending his career as a police officer. Although he avoided prison, the conviction carried consequences that extended far beyond the courtroom.
Number 5.
Jeffrey Inkelbarger. A search warrant gives police extraordinary access. For a few hours, officers can legally open drawers, search closets, and examine belongings most people would never allow a stranger to touch. That kind of authority depends on one thing: trust. Officer Jeffrey Inkelbarger had earned that trust inside the Bremerton Police Department. During narcotics search warrants, he was the kind of officer supervisors expected to document every piece of evidence accurately and leave a home exactly as procedure required. According to prosecutors, he saw the warrant as an opportunity instead. While executing a narcotics search warrant inside a Bremerton home, investigators say Inkelbarger entered a room where a purse sat undisturbed while other officers searched elsewhere in the house. Inside was approximately $600 in cash. According to investigators, he quietly removed the money and slipped it into his own pocket. The theft alone might have been difficult to prove. Homes are chaotic during search warrants. Multiple officers move from room to room. Evidence is collected simultaneously. People often disagree later about what was found and where. Inkelbarger appeared to understand that. When it came time to complete his official report, he didn't claim there had been no money inside the purse. That would have raised immediate suspicion. Instead, he reported finding $25, just enough to make the paperwork appear believable, just enough he likely thought that no one would ever question the difference. For a moment, it looked like the plan might work. Then investigators learned something Inkelbarger never knew. The homeowner had security cameras operating inside the house. Detectives reviewed the footage. It showed the search unfolding room by room. The purse, the cash, and the moment the money disappeared into an officer's pocket instead of an evidence bag. Now investigators had two versions of the same search, one captured on video, the other written under oath. They compared the footage with Inkelbarger's report. The camera showed approximately $600. His paperwork claimed $25. The discrepancy wasn't a mistake, it was evidence. As detectives examined the case more closely, the charges continued to grow. The missing money led to a theft investigation. The false report resulted in a perjury charge, and the falsified documentation supporting that report led to a forgery charge. What began as a routine narcotics warrant had become a criminal investigation into one of the officers serving it. Facing surveillance footage that directly contradicted his sworn report, Inkelbarger pleaded guilty to theft, perjury, and forgery. The court sentenced him to 30 days in jail, followed by electronic home monitoring, and placed him on 12 months of community custody. He was also ordered to pay legal financial obligations imposed by the court. His law enforcement career came to an end, and the case became a reminder that an officer's report is only as trustworthy as the person writing it. Number 6. Craig Carter. Not every police call begins with a crime. Some begin with a tragedy. When filmmaker Claudio Gattani was found dead inside his home in London, Metropolitan Police Constable Craig Carter was one of the officers sent to respond. His job wasn't to investigate a murder, it was to preserve the scene, document the facts, and protect a grieving family's property until they could arrive. Instead, prosecutors say Carter saw something else: opportunity. He opened Gattani's wallet, removed cash, then created a property record listing only a fraction of what had actually been there. On paper, nothing looked unusual. For many corrupt officers, that would have been the end of it. Carter made one decision that changed everything. He tried to erase the body camera footage. If the recording disappeared, so did the strongest witness against him. Except it didn't. Investigators discovered the footage had existed. More importantly, they discovered someone had requested its deletion shortly after the call. That single decision transformed a theft investigation into something much larger. It suggested Carter knew exactly what the camera had captured. Charged with misconduct in public office, Carter was ultimately sentenced to 16 months in prison. He hadn't just stolen from a man who had died hours earlier. He had tried to erase the evidence before the victim's family even knew what had happened. The theft damaged public trust. The attempted cover-up destroyed what little chance he had of defending it. And the next officer didn't steal cash. He stole something investigators consider even more dangerous.
Number 7. Justin McMillan and Justin Colon. At New York City's 115th Precinct, officers Justin McMillan and Justin Colon were still early in their careers, building the kind of reputation every young officer hopes will last for decades. Instead, investigators say they destroyed it in a single night. Before entering an apartment, McMillan deliberately switched off his body camera. That decision would later become one of the most important pieces of evidence in the entire case. Because body cameras are designed to protect everyone involved. When one is deliberately turned off, investigators immediately begin asking why. According to federal prosecutors, the officers weren't supposed to be inside the building in the first place. The keys they used had allegedly been obtained unlawfully. That meant the crime had already begun before anyone stepped through the apartment door. Inside, investigators say McMillan searched the apartment and stole approximately $200 from a woman's purse. That alone would have ended most police careers. But it wasn't even the most serious crime committed that night. Federal prosecutors allege McMillan then sexually assaulted the woman inside her own apartment, transforming what began as a theft investigation into one of the most serious abuses of police authority the department had faced in years. Colon never intervened. According to prosecutors, he helped obtain the stolen keys, entered the building alongside McMillan, and stood watch while everything unfolded, making sure no one interrupted what was happening inside. 2 officers, 1 apartment, 1 victim, and 2 badges used for the exact opposite purpose they had been issued. The investigation quickly moved beyond the NYPD. Federal authorities took over. Detectives were immediately confronted with one obvious problem. There was no body camera footage, because someone had deliberately made sure there wouldn't be.
Investigators rebuilt the night another way. They traced the stolen keys, reviewed building access records, interviewed witnesses, compared timelines, and carefully documented the victim's account. Each piece replaced part of the evidence the officers believed had disappeared with the missing video. Ironically, the camera McMillan switched off became one of the investigation's strongest clues. It suggested the concealment had begun before the crimes themselves. Federal prosecutors argued this wasn't simply police misconduct. It was a deliberate abuse of government authority against the very citizens those officers had sworn to protect. A federal grand jury indicted both officers on multiple charges, including conspiracy against rights, deprivation of rights under color of law, and obstruction of justice. McMillan was additionally charged with aggravated sexual abuse, and robbery, reflecting the allegations that he sexually assaulted the victim after stealing cash from her apartment. Colon faced charges for helping facilitate the unlawful entry and for acting as a lookout during the attack. Both men pleaded not guilty when first arraigned in federal court, and the criminal case proceeded through the federal judicial system. If convicted on the most serious counts, McMillan faced the possibility of life imprisonment, while Colon faced decades in federal prison for his alleged role in the conspiracy and civil rights violations. Regardless of the eventual verdict, their law enforcement careers ended the moment the federal indictment was unsealed. The body camera McMillan turned off never protected him. Instead, its silence became one of the first questions federal investigators set out to answer. And the next officer didn't switch off his camera. His own camera recorded the evidence that would ultimately send investigators looking straight at him.
Number 8. Javar Downs. The stop looked like a routine drug seizure. A vehicle pulled over in Louisville. A search conducted. A large amount of cash recovered. By the end of the encounter, Officer Javar Downs was holding $10,000 in his hands. That number would become the problem. Large cash seizures are heavily documented because every bill is supposed to be counted, photographed, and entered into evidence before the money ever leaves an officer's control. The system exists for one reason: to make it impossible for cash to disappear between the roadside and the evidence locker. Investigators say Downs found a way to make $4,000 disappear anyway. According to prosecutors, he kept $4,000 for himself and submitted only $6,000 into the department's evidence system, a discrepancy large enough that it should have been impossible to miss. At first, it wasn't obvious. Downs had built a reputation inside the Louisville Metro Police Department as an aggressive and productive officer on drug-related stops, the kind of cop supervisors expect to generate arrests and seizures. A veteran officer with that reputation is often trusted to handle evidence without attracting immediate suspicion. What Downs apparently didn't realize was that he wasn't the only camera recording the stop. His own body-worn camera captured the entire seizure. A nearby surveillance camera captured it too. Investigators later reviewed both recordings side by side. The footage showed the same thing from two different angles: $10,000 in cash, not $6. When detectives compared the video frame by frame with the amount entered into evidence, the missing money wasn't a mystery they had to solve through witness testimony or conflicting accounts. It was visible on screen, time-stamped, and documented by two independent sources. That changed the case immediately. Investigators didn't need a confession. They didn't need a cooperating witness. They had video showing the full amount of cash before Downs ever completed his paperwork, and paperwork showing a completely different number afterward. The officer who thought he was controlling the evidence had actually created it. Following the investigation, Downs was charged with theft by unlawful taking and official misconduct. He ultimately pleaded guilty to both charges in Jefferson County Circuit Court. The court sentenced Downs to 5 years imprisonment, with the sentence probated for 5 years, meaning he avoided immediate incarceration so long as he complied with the conditions of his probation. He was also ordered to surrender his Kentucky law enforcement certification, ending his career as a police officer. For the Louisville Metro Police Department, the case became another reminder that body cameras don't just protect officers from false accusations, they also hold officers accountable when the evidence points in the other direction. A $10,000 seizure should have been counted, logged, and forgotten. Instead, it became the evidence that ended Javar Downs' career. Number 9. Joseph Stokes and Jose Aracena.
Internal Affairs wasn't waiting for a citizen complaint. It wasn't responding to missing evidence. It built the entire operation around a single question: what happens when an officer believes no one is watching? The two NYPD officers from the 7th Precinct reported for what appeared to be an ordinary shift. Nothing seemed unusual. A routine operation, a routine search.
Then came an unexpected discovery. Cash hidden inside what looked like abandoned stash cans. To Stokes and Aracena, it looked like luck. To Internal Affairs, it was evidence waiting to happen. Every dollar had been counted before the operation began. Every location had been documented. Investigators weren't watching to see whether the officers found the money. They already knew they would. They were watching to see what happened next. Joseph Stokes reached the stash first. According to prosecutors, he quietly removed $4,800 before discarding the cans themselves. Later, when investigators questioned him, Stokes claimed the containers had been worthless trash. He insisted he'd simply thrown them away. But Internal Affairs already knew exactly what had been inside those cans, because they had placed the money there themselves. Almost at the same time, Officer Jose Aracena walked into a second integrity test. Investigators had secretly placed $220 inside an undercover vehicle. According to prosecutors, Aracena took the cash before later insisting there hadn't been any money inside the vehicle at all. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't a counting error.
It was exactly the answer investigators had been waiting to hear, because they already knew the precise amount they had planted before either officer ever arrived. Only then did Stokes and Aracena realize the truth. They hadn't been investigating a crime. They were the investigation. The operation had never been about recovering evidence. It had been designed to measure integrity. And according to prosecutors, both officers failed. Their attorneys later argued the operation amounted to entrapment. Prosecutors disagreed. No one forced either officer to steal. No one instructed them to lie. Internal Affairs had simply created the same opportunity officers routinely encounter in the real world, and waited to see what decision each man would make. The jury sided with the prosecution. Joseph Stokes was convicted of grand larceny and official misconduct for stealing $4,800 from the staged evidence. Jose Aracena was convicted of petite larceny and official misconduct after taking $220 from the undercover vehicle. Stokes was sentenced to 6 months in jail, 5 years of probation, and was ordered to perform 500 hours of community service. Aracena received 3 years of probation, 250 hours of community service, and was required to surrender his position with the NYPD. The convictions also validated an Internal Affairs integrity testing program that many officers had criticized for years. What some dismissed as an unfair trap had exposed exactly the kind of corruption it was designed to find.
Number 10. Curtis Traylor Harris and LaQuenda Banks. In Smith County, Texas, Constable Curtis Traylor Harris wasn't just another deputy on the scene. He was the elected constable, the man responsible for making sure the eviction was carried out legally, professionally, and with respect for a family already losing their home. An eviction is one of the most vulnerable moments in a person's life. You're standing outside, watching strangers carry everything you own through the front door. Family photographs, jewelry, important documents, years of memories packed into boxes that no longer belong inside the house. The people moving those belongings aren't supposed to be thieves. They're supposed to make sure no one steals from you. According to investigators, Harris did the opposite. Rather than supervising the deputies under his command, prosecutors say he openly instructed them to help themselves to the family's possessions. Not quietly, not as a joke, not behind closed doors where no one else could hear. Witnesses later told investigators Harris simply said, take what you want. Those 4 words changed the entire meaning of what happened inside that home. One of the deputies carrying out the eviction was Chief Deputy LaQuenda Banks. According to investigators, Banks acted on the instruction almost immediately. She allegedly concealed stolen property inside her own uniform while deputies removed valuables from the residence: cash, jewelry, personal documents, and other belongings that should have been inventoried, protected, and returned to their rightful owners. Instead, prosecutors argued, they became opportunities. What should have been a lawful eviction became something far more disturbing. Not a burglary, not a robbery, a theft committed under the color of law. The family wasn't being victimized by criminals breaking into their home. According to prosecutors, they were being victimized by the very officials legally authorized to enter it. That distinction became the heart of the case. As investigators interviewed witnesses, the same allegations surfaced repeatedly. Harris had given permission. The theft wasn't an impulsive decision by one deputy acting alone. According to prosecutors, it was an instruction from the person in charge. That allegation would become one of the strongest pieces of evidence presented during the investigation, because it suggested the misconduct wasn't isolated, it was directed. Both Harris and Banks were charged with theft by a public servant, a charge reserved for public officials who use the authority of their office to commit crimes that ordinary citizens couldn't have committed in the same way. Harris was ultimately convicted, receiving probation and a fine. Banks later pleaded guilty, admitting her role in the theft and bringing the criminal case against her to a close. Both Harris and Banks were eventually held accountable in court, but their cases ended very differently. Curtis Traylor Harris was convicted of theft by a public servant and official oppression. A jury initially sentenced him to 5 years of probation and $10,000 fine. For a time, it appeared he had avoided prison, but that wasn't the end of the story. According to court records, Harris later violated the terms of his probation by forging community service records and failing to meet other court-ordered requirements. The judge revoked his probation, and in January 2026, Harris was sentenced to 2 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, where he began serving his prison sentence. Chief Deputy LaQuenda Banks reached a different outcome. After cooperating with investigators and testifying against her co-defendants, she pled guilty to misdemeanor official oppression as part of a plea agreement. Prosecutors dismissed the felony theft charge, and she was sentenced to 18 months of probation. For Harris, the badge was gone. For Banks, her law enforcement career was over. And for Smith County, the case became a reminder that the greatest abuse of authority isn't always committed by the person breaking into a home. Sometimes it's committed by the person the court trusted to walk through the front door. If you enjoyed this investigation, let us know which case shocked you the most. And if you want more true stories about corruption, justice, and the people who thought they'd never get caught, subscribe to Verdict Vault, because sometimes the most unbelievable crimes are committed by the people trusted to stop them.